Good afternoon, Ledyard High School Wind Orchestra. This is Dr. Lauren Reynolds from CCSU. Very thrilled that you're here with us today. I'm very much looking forward to your performance, so best wishes to you. Off to a really great start. You guys have a good sense of ensemble, and you are doing a great job with your small numbers of creating a full sound from top to bottom. You're actually quite well instrumented, so it's good to see. Great use of dynamic contrast throughout. I'd love to see if you can pace your crescendos a little bit differently. So I hear all of the dynamic work that you're doing. I wonder if you can more evenly pace them rather than a slow start and then a rapid crescendo at the end of the note. I think that would give you a little bit more musical approach to those crescendi. Moments like this at 34 here to try and make the texture of what's written here a little bit more transparent. So, for example, what I mean when you get to the whole note, play a little bit less so that the folks who are playing the alternating line don't have to work nearly as hard to be heard. It will help you get a little bit lighter approach to the music. I would suggest to you in the trio here, so it's marked mezzo forte, but I think you can play that as a sort of a more intimate mezzo forte. Try and get even more contrast in the trio. Whenever you have these whole notes tied to half notes, like at the end of a phrase, like we have here, right before the repeat, try to make sure that the last note, the resulting note, which in this case is the half note, doesn't get clipped at all. Make sure that it's resonant and sort of releases up rather than closing off the sound at all. This hall is particularly challenging because it's quite resonant, but I think in general the percussion can be quite a bit less. Especially the bass drum is sort of ringing over the whole ensemble. All right, nice job. And great arrangement, by the way, Tom. It's really good. So overall, you handle the style of this march very well. I think what you can do, the sort of next step with this, is you can look to lighten it up a little bit. See if you can find opportunities to make the texture a little bit more transparent, to sort of get the bulk out of the sound. So whenever there's a sustained note, and the sustained note doesn't have to look like a half note. I mean, it doesn't have to look like a whole note. It can be a half note, or in some cases, it might even be a chord note if there's eighth notes that underlie it. So see if you can find those moments to thin it out a little bit. But nice job. Nice job here. So in the opening, a couple of suggestions. One, you should be looking for the length of the line, the sort of continuity of the line. See if you can connect from one note to the next in a more smooth fashion. And then next, once you've achieved that, see if you can bring the dynamic down even a little bit more. In the second phrase there, where you have trumpet, horn, trombone, alto sax, I think the trumpet line can actually come out of the texture a little bit more. So we have this sort of duet between trumpet and alto sax. Bring that out a little bit more. It's the leading line. So these little solo parts in the trumpet and the trombone, go ahead and have resonance on the last note, dee-da-da-da, instead of dee-da-da-da. So don't toss away the eighth note, in other words. is much better balanced here, by the way. So I wonder in the percussion if we might be able to use crash cymbals here instead of suspended cymbal to get that sort of punctuated nature of this variation at B. I also think we can lighten up just a little bit in the variation at B so that in the punctuated notes, so that the 16th notes don't have to work nearly as hard. Nice sound in the horn. Good for you. Good. So this is a chamber section right here at C. So see if you can play this in a more intimate, personal way. It's just a few people having a conversation here. That gives great drama and contrast in this piece if you can do that. So in this phrase here, before D, even though there are little phrase markings that Holst wrote and that you have in this arrangement, see if you can think of the whole line as one continuous idea, even though you're going to maybe articulate lightly throughout that line. That will, we want to think of it in terms of 8-bar ideas rather than 2 bars, or, even smaller units than that. Nice job throughout the sort of inverted passages here. I think you did a good job of sort of building the mystery of this, and actually those phrases were a little bit smoother and connected than some of the other ones we've heard so far, so that's good. Now when we're starting this spot 8 bars before F, I would start it absolutely the most delicate piano that you can, so right where you left off the last variation, start it there. Don't give any hint of what's coming until you get part of the way through the crescendo. Good arrival here at F. You can tell that you all understand the music here. Everyone is embracing this arrival moment, which is great. Now, one thing I'll ask you to do differently is to sustain all of the voices in the same manner. For example, the second bar of F, we had some folks that decay after the half note and other folks that sustain a little bit more through the half note, so we'll want to unify that a little bit better. Nice job there. Make sure that you maintain the air support all the way through the release of that last note so that you don't have pitch dropping on the very last note of the first movement there. I also want to suggest in the last few bars of the first movement that you bring out the moving line in the trumpet, tenor sax, trombone. Just bring that out a little bit more, maybe a little bit more defined articulation. Good. This accompaniment at A, because the euphonium only has the first 3 notes, we need to rely on the tuba or bass to take us through the last 8th note of each bar so that it's a little bit better balanced. Really good job capturing the style as it changes throughout this movement. Good accuracy on those 8th notes. Very good. So the downbeat of C is a very similar case to what I was mentioning before as far as not clipping the last note. D, da, da. So even though it's a short note in length at the downbeat of C, make sure it's not a toss-away note. Make sure it has good length and resonance. job by all the solo voices here. But be careful to balance it a little bit differently maybe. We're actually losing flute a little bit and the horn is quite prominent. So you may want to take a listen, just the soloists playing with each other, to make sure that all the voices can be heard evenly. At D, let's maybe start this section a little bit softer, a little bit more subdued, easier sounding. Yeah, clarinet and flute, you can play those little counter lines out. We really want to hear those 8 notes. Nice job, soloist. Make sure that you observe the articulation marks there. You're playing the right articulation at the right time, but I think you can capture the essence of the style a little bit better. So the note before each of the staccato notes can be a little bit more lifted, in other words. This can be a little bit more in the background, the trombone tenor sax line. It's like a little memory of what came before, or a little looking forward to what's happening, but not as much on the foreground, I think, for this. Because we want to be able to hear what Holst has done here, right, and taking all of these various melodies and combining them one on top of the other. So we want to make sure that one of the melodies doesn't overpower all of the others. Nice job with all the moving 8th notes there at the end. See if you can push yourselves to play even softer in the last couple of bars and make even more of the diminuendo. All right, good start to the third movement here. That bass drum note, the solo bass drum note at the beginning, you can go for it there. No one else plays. It's an iconic solo note, so you can give a little bit more there. Alright, so throughout this main melody and its accompaniment, I would encourage you to detach a little bit more. Dee-da, dee-da, dee-da-da-da-da-da, instead of dee-da, dee-da, dee-da-da-da-da. So nice job in the melody here. Again, can you make it as smooth and seamless as possible? Especially each time you take a breath or a break. That's fine, of course, but try not to accent or chop the note right before the breath. Try to, sensitively taper it before your breath. Or another way of doing it is sustain your sound all the way till the last possible second, and then take a very fast and good breath at the end of the phrase. See if you can be even more pointed in your articulation here, so it's a little bit crisper, a little more petite sounding. Yeah, tongue those notes, tenor sax, da dee da. Yeah, trumpet, take us all the way through the end of those quarter notes. We can hear you up in that tessitura. That's good. Make sure you keep that embouchure firm so we don't have a suffering of pitch. Good direction of the line there. I appreciate that you guys built towards the arrival point there. That's good. There's another one of those spots. Dee da 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 da. It's what would be more musical. Dee da 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 dee. So just remember that every note has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and each of those parts needs care and careful treatment. Nice job. Really appreciate that you've taken the time to arrange this music for the students that you have, and you're doing a really terrific job with it. They really sound full, and they sound like each player is contributing, so great job. Looking forward to working with you.